SEC on ESPN, Williams-Brice Stadium in Columbia. A rainy mid-October Saturday as the Gamecocks, coming off an upset win at Georgia, look to knock off another top 10 team, the Florida Gators, trying to rebound from a loss against LSU. And hi, everybody. With Greg McElroy and Dave Pasch, Tom Luganville as well. Greg, everything's still on the table for Florida, even though the Gators lost last week. Still a chance at an SEC title, and for that matter, a national championship, but no more slip-ups.
Yeah, that was something they struggled with last year, handling disappointment. They allowed the Georgia game in 2018 really to beat them twice. They came out very flat against Missouri in the following week. They cannot have that similar fate today because they're going up against a capable Gamecocks football team that's really feeling good after last week's performance, Tom.
Yeah, it certainly is, Greg. I'll tell you one thing about building a program, you got to learn how to handle success. A signature win last week versus Georgia. Will Muschamp told his team, you know what, you don't always get what you want, but you get what you deserve. So prepare to deserve to win today at home.
And Muschamp, who was a head coach at Florida for 4 years, now in his 4th season with the Gamecocks. It's always rocking here in Columbia, but especially after the win last week in Athens. They are feeling it today. But it is pouring and a chance of lightning in South Carolina today. Florida won the toss and deferred. Gators will kick it to Shi Smith. And we're underway from Columbia. Smith under it on the goal line, has to take it out. Past the 20, and a huge hit along the sideline at the 25-yard line by Stewart. The quarterback for South Carolina's true freshman Ryan Hilinski, who got hurt in the game last week against Georgia. That was in the second quarter. He played through that injury, but in the third quarter, Adam Anderson called for roughing the passer. Hilinski was helped off the field, watched the rest of the game from the bench. This is pregame, working out that left knee. No brace in pregame. He is wearing it now as he makes his 6th start, and he'll hand it off on first down as Dowdle does a great job to duck under a tackler and pick up 8 yards.
Ryan Hilinski has done a great job stepping in for the injured Jake Bentley. Has steadied this offense. Not a ton of big play potential, and they need to improve in a lot of areas, but he's been steady. With the exception of the Missouri game, he's played mature, smart football and has been very accurate here in his first season in Columbia.
And so Dowdle shaken up on the first play. They do like Tavian Feaster, and it's going to be a flea flicker here. Hilinski looking deep, taking a shot. Caught! Brian Edwards, their best receiver, pulls it in with Florida's best corner, C.J. Henderson, draping him 42 yards.
It's a beautiful route, and you're just going to see stutter and go right off the gate. See the reaction by those safeties. And a nice throw for the #1 receiver to go up and make a play. Good coverage, too, by C.J. Henderson. With Brian Edwards. The big play potential. Always something to consider with the excellent wide receiver.
And Feaster, the transfer from Clemson, stays in the game here. He'll get the call on first down. Dropped after a pickup of 4. Keep in mind for Florida, the Gators are playing without maybe their 2 best defensive players, and John Grenard and Jabari Zuniga have been dealing with high ankle sprains. So without those 2 guys, the pass rush won't be the same for Florida.
Greg, I'll tell you, I love that call too, because in this weather, you've given your young quarterback confidence that he can throw a wet ball and he can throw it anywhere on the field.
Really nice throw and a better catch by Brian Edwards.
They shift Smith in motion, and Feaster wrapped up in the backfield and spun down by Trey Dean. So it's going to bring up 3rd down and long.
3rd down has been a problem for the Gamecocks this year. They've been awfully conservative too, especially early in the game. Don't try to do too much. On 3rd and longs, they've done a lot of screens, and they've been more than willing to hand the football off. Keep an eye on the potential tunnel screen here to one of these talented wide receivers.
Feaster leaving the backfield. Hilinski with time, and it's caught by Smith for a first down at the 10-yard line. And again, you saw no pass rush from Florida on 3rd and long.
Great pocket for Hilinski to stand in and survey. And a good job by Shi Smith working over the middle. That was a beautiful design in their empty package, a package that has hurt this Florida defense from time to time. In a game last year against South Carolina, the empty was very, very helpful for this offense.
Got to think without Zuniga and Grenard as they run it here. Feaster slammed down by Kyrie Campbell. I mean, if you're Todd Grantham, the defensive coordinator, how do you call this game when you don't have two guys who are difference makers off the edge?
Early in the game, just feel it out. Just see whether or not your guys that are replacing those two talented defensive ends, see if they can get home. But if they can't, and as the game progresses into the 2nd quarter and the 3rd quarter, that's when you might expect to see a little bit more pressure, a few more blitz packages to try to make life a little more uncomfortable on the freshman quarterback.
Feaster running right and brought down at the 1. David Reese, the leading tackler for Florida, puts South Carolina in 3rd and goal from a yard out on an impressive opening drive. The big play, the flea flicker that went for 42 yards.
Greg, I think it's really important in this weather that South Carolina gets 6 here and doesn't have to settle for 3. Points are going to come at a premium. It's going to continue to be a downpour. Field goals will not win this game in the end.
Yeah, and they are not afraid to go for it on 4th down. So this part of the field might have 2 downs to get there.
Here's Denson. He's in. Touchdown, South Carolina. Well, Greg, you made the point at the top of the telecast about Florida handling adversity and bouncing back, needing a good start. That's not what Dan Mullen had in mind, giving up big plays and then needless penalties for lining up in the neutral zone. White puts it through. 7-zip Gamecocks.
Carrying over some of that momentum from a huge win last week in Athens, and South Carolina gets things kicked off here with a great opening drive and a 7-0 lead.
Well, Florida had South Carolina stopped. The Gamecocks fumbled the ball. They did recover it, but it was going to be 4th down. However, Ankrum was offside for the 2nd time on that possession. South Carolina punches it in. Mon Denson from a yard out. Gamecocks strike first. Missouri right now is atop the SEC East at 2-0. Florida and Georgia with 1 loss apiece. South Carolina 2-2. Here's Swain running it out, and he's tripped up and doesn't even get to the 20-yard line. Nice job there by Eason Riddle on special teams as Kyle Trask takes the field. He's been a backup quarterback basically his entire life. De'Aaron King was the starter when they were in high school in Manville. He didn't start his first 3 years at Florida, though he was supposed to last year in this game, but got hurt during the week, injured his foot. As a starter this year, he's 3-1. It's his first starting role since he was a freshman in high school. He hurt his knee against Auburn, and he's been battling through injury really his entire career. Kyle Trask looking for Perine out of the backfield as a blocker and run out of bounds at the 30-yard line.
Kyle Trask has allowed this offense to really evolve. I mean, you think about Dan Mullen, his whole career is about running the football. Dating back to his days at Florida as an offensive coordinator and then at Mississippi State. But really, Kyle Trask is just better suited dropping back and throwing it downfield, and they have an elite group of wide receivers. So his insertion into the lineup has really transformed this Gator group.
2nd and 5, play action. Trask downfield, a catch. and Copeland is inside the 40-yard line. Beautiful play action pass.
This was a nice job off the RPO. He sees press coverage, which allows him to work one-on-one against Muschamp. And Copeland gets a really nice release against the 6'4" corner. And a great throw by Trask, leading his receiver upfield.
34-yard pickup. Trask, a little half roll. That ball took a long time to get to Josh Hammond. Gain of about 4 on the play.
No, Greg, it's interesting with Dan Mullen when he told us that, you know, through the first few weeks of the season, you kind of figuring out who you are. And what we found out is that we're a passing team. We haven't run block very well, but we can pass protect. And so throwing the ball in the rain is what he's counting on to be their game plan.
Yeah, and Trask allows that transition to take place as well. Obviously more of a stationary target, but a more accurate thrower than Felipe Franks.
And man, Mullen wasn't kidding when he said we're going to throw the ball in the rain. They haven't run it yet. This is the first time, and Pirine able to break away from Kinlaw, who is a loaded defensive tackle at 6'6", 310. Couldn't wrap him up, so positive yardage, but Kinlaw's been a game wrecker for them this year. Just look at him.
He's a monster. An absolute monster. And what a great kid, too. Unbelievable story. And has really transformed his body. Came to campus at 350, has lost all that weight, and now you're starting to see the agility and being able to play in opponents' backfields. He's been as good as any defensive tackle in college football. I think him and Derek Brown are kind of in a league of their own when compared to some of the other interior defensive linemen across the country.
Pirine in the backfield with Trask. Trask in the pocket, throws a deep ball, got a receiver, but that thing again hung in the air. Pirine was open. Man, Trask is having all kinds of issues throwing the ball today, as Florida's going to go for it on 4th down, it looks like. Nope, they're going to actually take Trask off the field here and try a long field goal.
Bad throw right there by Trask. Just threw it way too wide as opposed to upfield. It was a good play call, though, and he hits his receiver in stride. It's 6 points.
At some point, if you're Dan Mullen, I know you want to throw it, but if your quarterback can't in this weather, does that change your game plan? 48-yard try. And it's good. Evan McPherson, who the last 2 years has missed only 3 field goals. That's a season-long, a 48-yarder, and it ties a career-long to get the Gators on the board here in the rain in Columbia. McPherson, who just made the field goal, kicking it deep here to Shi Smith. And Smith is greeted at the 15-yard line and brought down by Pierce.
I love the aggressiveness from South Carolina offensively on the opening drive. Look at the influence that this flea flicker has on those safeties. Both safeties trigger up. It was a nice throw and a beautiful catch by Brian Edwards in 3rd and long in the red zone. You look at the too high coverage, being able to flood that intermediate zone. And a really nice throw by Hilinski as he drifted in the pocket. Off to a very nice start here in difficult conditions against a very good defense that is without their 2 elite pass rushers on the edges.
Yep, Grenard and Zuniga. Hand off to Feaster. Oh, he got tripped up. And Oklahoma continues to roll, as does Feaster, who might be gone. They finally cut him down inside the 40-yard line. Marco Wilson's got great speed. If it's anybody else, it's probably more than a 32-yard run.
Yeah, you see the jet sweep action that gets the Florida Gators to move from right to left. And that flow allows the backside cut. A beautiful run by Feaster.
They go back to Feaster here, grabbed at the line of scrimmage and brought down. Adam Schuler, grad transfer from West Virginia, was in there. Now Feaster, senior from Spartanburg, South Carolina, grad transfer from Clemson. He might be banged up. Remember, Rico Dowdle was hurt on the first play. So Mon Denson, another senior, is in the game. He's got the touchdown, but he's more than likely going to be their short yardage back most of the time. They won't snap it here. 1 quarter in the books. Columbia, South Carolina rocking. Gamecocks on top after 1, 7-3. Got the state fair going on. South Carolina Hall of Fame ceremony this weekend.
You're scared of roller coasters?
You're darn right.
You're also scared of funnel cakes?
And fun.
Yes.
2nd and 10. Play action. Hilinski looking deep. Airing it out as he got hit. There's a flag in the secondary. Shi Smith, the intended receiver. Now that has to be a defensive holding call because it certainly was uncatchable. It can't be pass interference. Brunson hit Hilinski as he threw that
pass
ball.
Interference on the defense.
Wow.
Number 3. 15-yard penalty. First down.
How can they call that?
I mean, that was a throwaway. I mean, under duress. And the contact looked marginal. Look at the receiver's releases.
1st and 10, 22-yard line.
And there's definitely a little contact there on the outside between Marco Wilson and the intended receiver.
Yeah, but Greg, the ball was thrown 20 yards over his head.
Yeah, I don't think it was catchable.
Correction. There is no defensive pass interference. The ball was uncatchable.
There you go.
It'll be third down.
Just surprised that they actually announced it and then somebody said, hey, uncatchable. Okay, let's change the call.
No, I think it was a correct call. It was a good change. I mean, there was contact, but the ball is thrown so far over the head of the intended receiver. It's a pretty clear and definite call.
Well done by the crew.
Good job sorting that out.
So now it's 3rd and 10. Need to get a little bit closer for Parker White to have a shot.
And this looks like a little pressure potentially from Florida, so watch for a potential screen or inside zone. There it is.
And Feaster brought down at the 31, but that will give Parker White an opportunity to make about a 49-yard field goal. He made a 49-yarder against Georgia. Kicked the game winner to beat Georgia in double overtime last week. He also missed one in overtime from about 33 yards. Trying to extend the lead here.
In wet conditions, the kick's the easiest part. The snap and the hold sometimes get a little tricky when that ball is slick.
Joseph Charlton, the punter, is the holder. Matt Oliveira is the long snapper. And that kick is good. So we've seen 2 long field goals in that direction in these conditions already here. One by Florida, this one by the Gamecocks.
Beautiful snap, beautiful hold, matched laces, laces out. And White drills it. End over end, right down the middle with plenty of distance to spare.
Will Tommy will boot it. Swain and Cleveland are the deep men for the Gators. And this one will be a touchback. And they're going to throw it again. Out in space to Cleveland, and he's got the first down. Knocked out of bounds at the 39. South Carolina made sure that everybody remembered what happened last week. That sign they gave up 367 rushing yards to Florida, that was on every defensive coach's office. But the shirt, that's Will Muschamp's shirt, handwritten by Will.
As you can see, Traverse Robinson, T-Rob, the defensive coordinator for the Gamecocks.
Here's Pierce up the middle, push back at the 45.
Quality penmanship by Coach Muschamp there.
We thought when he told us about the shirt, we figured that like they had the T-shirt made up.
Yeah.
But it's so Will. It's like perfect that he did it himself.
Oh, you know he did it, and he's laughing. I'm going to get these guys. I'm going to show them. And clearly the defense so far, at least in the early going, has responded. Granted, Florida hasn't really tried to impose their will on the ground. Expect them to get to it a little more as the game goes along.
Well, they just got 5 yards. Their third rush attempt of the game. They're going to run it again here with Pierce, and he's close to the first down. Pierce did not get the first down, so it's 3rd and 1. Near midfield, high snap. Trask going to keep it, and he does pick up the first down. Muschamp gets him to the ground, but they're in South Carolina territory. Trask loses helmet. He did. He's got to come out for a play. And that means Emory Jones, who they like to use at times anyway, comes in to play quarterback.
This is the one team that doesn't affect.
Yeah, 2 quarterback systems actually worked well. They complement each other so well. Emory, the shiftier, quicker option, whereas Trask is the better thrower and more of a power back when carrying the football.
But Dan told us yesterday he's not afraid to have Emory throw the ball. Thinks that Jones has a good arm. He's going to run it here, though, trying to find a hole, and he couldn't. That may be 2 off that right side.
Clearly the message has been sent, though, by this Florida Gator offensive line, saying, hey, let us run. Let us try to push the pile a little bit. This is now 4 straight run plays that we've seen from the Gators. And this offensive line, frankly, they haven't been great this year in regards to their run blocking. Working against a good front headline by Javon Kinlaw is going to be tough sledding, but you have to give them an opportunity, especially in wet and difficult throwing conditions.
You saw P. Ryan leave the backfield, so an empty set here for Trask, who's back in the game for 2nd down and 8. He'll throw to P. Ryan, and that was over Muschamp, who's a 6'5" linebacker, dropping, and that ball was lobbed over his head into the arms of P. Ryan.
Yeah, I mean, he just a little lollipop out there.
Greg, you should see this from ground level.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just throwing little rainbows, and they somehow end up where they're supposed to be.
Yeah, that was a good job right there. And if I'm one of these South Carolina corners, I'm thinking, man, if he's throwing it like that, I might get a little more aggressive on some of these underneath throws.
Still raining. Chance of lightning in Columbia. 3rd down and 1. And Trask keeping it again. That's twice now. And he gets the first down. Inside the 40.
It's a bit of an underrated part of his game. I mean, he's not a game breaker. He can't take it the distance. But he can get you 3 or 4 yards at 235 pounds. He falls forward. And you see just able to kind of drag the defender.
Right, no face mask, though.
No face mask. No, he didn't grab it. Looked like his hand was up there, but no grab.
We don't want any more penalties for hands in the face or face mask when there aren't penalties, right, in football. Here's Trask, and a jump ball that's caught. Copeland is free and into the end zone. Touchdown, Gators.
This is a great job by Copeland. Ball slightly underthrown, a lot of contact working against Jamie Robinson. Just 3 verticals on the left-hand side. You hit the seam against 1 high coverage. And sometimes you just got to trust your playmaker on the perimeter. Trask gives him a chance, and his receiver makes him right. Excellent throw and catch, and good response from the Gators.
And McPherson ties the game at 10 with 10:08 to play in the 2nd quarter. Kyle Trask, his 11th touchdown pass of the season, finds Jacob Copeland for the big play, and we are tied in Columbia. The rain continues to fall here in Columbia, South Carolina. Florida fans made the trip from Gainesville, and the game is tied with South Carolina. Early in the 2nd quarter, McPherson, Shi Smith will field it at the 3. Smith finds a crease for a moment. The hole closes quickly. A flag comes in. Hilinski with a pump fake and throws it down the field for Smith. Overshot him. Incomplete. Sean Davis running with Shi Smith.
And then after that play, you see Dan Mullen whistle over his quarterback. You're trying to do way too much. You're trying to see too much. Right there, you got a simple, pure progression read. Hit your tight end big body, keep the drive alive. Instead, Trask trying to do a little bit too much, forced the issue, and made a dangerous throw there on 3rd and short. Good coaching, though, by Dan Mullen, getting it ironed out and having that conversation immediately so the quarterback can think about it throughout the course of this drive.
Hilinski pulls it back and throws a strike to Edwards for a first down. That was beautifully done by the true freshman, taking it out of the arms of the running back and firing it complete.
This is a heck of a catch. Wet ball, a missile. That is a heat-seeking missile.
That ball's not wet to Hilinski, I can tell you that.
I'm telling you, that ball was hot, and those great hands by Edwards on the slant.
Here's Mondenson, brought down after a gain of 2. Brian Edwards is a great player for South Carolina, one of the best receivers in school history. 45 consecutive games with a catch. That's a school record. He's closing in on 200 career catches for the Gamecocks. 6'3", 215 pounds.
Just so dependable. I mean, he's good on the underneath stuff, and he's not an absolute blazer. He's not going to run out and run 4.3 or 4.2, but he seems to always win on deep routes. He always seems to stack the defender, always get on top. He is just such a dynamic player and has been so consistent over the course of his career.
Another pump fake. Hilinski going deep again, and he overthrew Smith again. Going to be 3rd down and 9.
Man, this is close. I mean, just a little bit more air. And if you look at Shi Smith, the way things set up, as that safety vacates off the hash, there is a ton of green grass to the far left pylon. Instead, he throws it, and that ball drifts to his right. Just an inaccurate throw there by the freshman quarterback. That had big play written all over it with a little bit more accurate throw.
3rd and 9. Hilinski to the air again from the pocket. Now the pocket collapses, and down goes the quarterback. Jeremiah Moon has been a big factor today, replacing the injured John Grenard and Jabari Zuniga.
Yeah, this is a good job by Moon, coming off the edge and then retracing back and not over pursuing. Sometimes you'll see these pass rushers, they get pushed way upfield, which allows vacant area up front for the quarterback to exploit with his legs. That time Moon gets pushed past, but recovers quickly and drops Hilinski for a sack.
Swain is the deep man for Florida. Swain signaling, fair caught inside the 10. 2 timeouts remaining for the Gators. Tie game late in the first half. Florida backed up inside its 10. They run the ball here, and Pirine has a 1st down. That's only the 3rd time in the first half they've run the football on 1st down. They get 16 yards.
And now that they are no longer in the shadow of the uprights, expecting to go in a little more high gear. Same formation, though. Might run the same play.
And this time Kinlaw gobbles him up at the line of scrimmage. No gain. Florida has 2 timeouts remaining.
You know, Greg, when Florida goes into the locker room, I'm curious to see if they come out, if they start running some more quarterback runs, because that's what Will Muschamp on defense worries about, is that extra gap that's created that changes your defensive alignment in terms of how many people you got to allot to the box.
I think that if I were to guess Florida at halftime, it's going to be a heavy conversation in regards to trying to create a little more balance by establishing the run in the final 30 minutes.
Florida doesn't seem to be in any rush, and I think South Carolina is going to call a timeout. I'm actually surprised South Carolina didn't do that earlier.
First charge timeout, South Carolina. That's their first.
Well, Javon Kinlaw has been an All-American candidate, one of the best defensive tackles in America, and has certainly made his presence felt today. Maybe not with numbers or stats, but he's constantly being double-teamed. And what do those double teams allow for? Singles for the other 3 defensive linemen. In this particular case, DJ Wanham getting in one-on-one situation against DeLance and dropping Trask for the sack. Kinlaw, his impact isn't always felt on the stat sheet. It doesn't matter. Stat sheet's one thing, that's great, but some great defensive tackles make every other defensive player better because of their presence and the amount of attention that the offense has to pay to them. And that's been the story here early today for the Gamecocks defense.
Well, one of the things that's helped Kinlaw, he had hip surgery. He said he really didn't realize his hip was injured last year. They looked at it and said, you need surgery. So he had the surgery, and he told us yesterday that he's a new man after that surgery.
There he is, lined up over the right guard, Brett Heggie.
Grew up in Washington, D.C. His mom's from Trinidad. Play clock at 1 as they snap it, and they keep it on the ground here. Pirine has some room, gets tattooed by Roderick. It'll be 3rd down and short. Neither team stopping the clock here.
A little surprised that South Carolina hasn't taken a timeout, because a punt in wet conditions, bobbled snap, slip, something along the lines of that. Bad things happen when you punt the football, so I'm a little surprised they opted to let the clock run.
P. Ryan cuts it upfield, gets the first down. So the clock will stop to move the sticks, but if you're Florida, when you've got timeouts, but now there's 5 seconds left, I'm a little surprised if you're trying to go, why not just go? They waited so late there, and now Mullen's not going to call a timeout, and that's the end of the first half. So kind of interesting way to handle the clock by both head coaches there in the final stages of the first half. We are tied at 10, an important game for both teams. Sending out to Matt Berry, Jesse Palmer, and Joey Galloway in the studio. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. Columbia, South Carolina on a rainy mid-October Saturday. A tie ball game between the Gamecocks coming off that win against Georgia, and Florida following the loss versus LSU. In the booth, Dave Pasch and Greg McElroy. Tom Luganville down on the field. Greg, what were your takeaways from the first half?
Well, I think both quarterbacks struggled a little bit, but it was a nice start from South Carolina offensively, coming right out of the gates, hitting a flea flicker on the second offensive snap. See the trigger by those safeties from Florida, and a great catch by Brian Edwards on the post. They followed that with a Mon Denson rushing touchdown a few plays later. Florida answered, though, as Kyle Trask threw a really nice football to Copeland on the seam. Kind of a back and forth first half, with South Carolina dominating the first quarter and Florida getting their revenge in the second. But expect both teams, Dave, to try to emphasize the run game. Both quarterbacks struggling there down the stretch. So you got to think that Dan Mullen and Brian McClendon, the play callers for both Florida and South Carolina respectively, are going to really lean on the line of scrimmage these running backs in the second half.
Well, Tyler Hilinski was just 1 for his last 9. Kyle Trask, who we'll see momentarily, had 7 incompletions. 5 of those were either underthrown or overthrown to be a touchback that will come out to the 25. Well, a recent tradition here in Columbia, South Carolina, in honor of South Carolina quarterback Ryan Hilinski's late brother Tyler, who was at Washington State, former quarterback, passed away from suicide in January 2018. Before the first snap of the third quarter here in Columbia, all the fans, the players and coaches, raised 3 fingers. That was the number that Tyler wore at Washington State, and the number that Ryan wears to honor his late brother. On first down, another pass play. P. Ryan, ball is loose, and they roll it incomplete. P. Ryan ran into Muschamp, who was covering a wide receiver.
And a good job by Muschamp winning inside on Kyle Pitts and forcing the incompletion. This is a glorified sweep. It's like a toss sweep. I know it goes down as a completion or an incompletion. Let's try to stretch the perimeter defensively, but South Carolina had it sniffed out, and a nice play by their talented 6'4" corner.
Walter Camp, National Defensive Player of the Week, for 3 interceptions in the win at Georgia, including 1 for a touch. Play fake, and the pass is intercepted at the 35-yard line. Robinson waiting for blockers. Down to the 20. The true freshman, Jamie Robinson, picks off Trask for the first takeaway of the game.
And this is really made possible by the rush up front. You're going to see Kinlaw work around and force the high throw, 6'6" in your face, trying to get it up and over. However, that ball sails out of the hands of Kyle Trask and into the awaiting arms of Jamie Robinson.
South Carolina comes back, and the quarterback Hilinski keeps it, and Ventrell Miller is there and takes him down at the 21-yard line for a loss of 1. Feaster, the running back, Rico Dowdle, hasn't played since the opening play when he got hurt That opening drive for South Carolina was beautiful, but the offense struggled after that. But they get the short field here. But a negative play on first down. Hilinski will throw it here. And he'll throw it to the end zone. Almost intercepted by C.J. Henderson and then almost caught by Chavis Dawkins. That ball took a while to get there.
Man, so close there for C.J. Henderson. Good coverage. It was made possible because the ball took forever to get there. As Hilinski was trying to release the football, there was quite a bit of pressure in his face. Couldn't get his weight through it. As a result, the ball sailed. It was nearly intercepted. Fortunate there for the Gamecocks.
South Carolina's 0 for its last 6 on third down. Been a struggle all year. And they're just going to run it here on 3rd and 11. And Feaster has the first down and more. And Feaster's into the end zone. Touchdown, South Carolina. They got him on the run, 26 yards. Grad transfer from Clemson, the 4th rushing touchdown for Tavian Feaster. 19th career touchdown going back to his days with the Tigers. And it's 17-10. Gamecocks lead the 9th ranked team in the country. And it looked too like Feaster put up 3 fingers at the end there to the crowd, again honoring Ryan Hilinski's late brother Tyler before the first play from scrimmage of the 3rd quarter. That's what they do here in South Carolina. The fans, players, and coaches put up 3 fingers on each hand. It looked like that's what Feaster did there. And because of the fair catch, it is a touchback by rule. It will come out to the 25 for Florida. Let's check in with Tom Luganville down on the field.
Fellas, I was able to catch up with Will Muschamp coming out of the tunnel, not knowing how that was going to start out in the 3rd quarter. 2 things. He said, listen, they're loading the box on us on defense. We've taken some deep shots, and we've proven we can run by them. Ryan Hilinski's got to hit one of those deep shots. And Rico Dowdle, guys, will be out for the game. They don't know how serious the nature of his injury is, but he will not return today.
All right, so it's Feaster's show. Denson will get some carries as well and had a touchdown in the 1st quarter. And let's see how Florida and Kyle Trask, after throwing that pick, responds. They run it, and Pierce breaks a tackle. Damian Pierce inside the 40. Pierce to the 20. Pierce to the house. Touchdown Gators. 75 yards. Well, we kept telling them to run the ball on first down in the first half. They didn't until now.
This is a beautifully executed in the front. Let's freeze it here. This is because Roderick overplays and tries to get outside. Instead, Pierce slips just inside, forcing the missed tackle. And how about the job, too, by Tyree Cleveland, number 89, the wide receiver, staying out in front of the defender and leading his running back into the end zone. Excellent effort by the wide receiver.
And we're tied again at 17. A touchdown apiece in the opening 2 minutes of the 3rd quarter. Damian Pierce, sophomore, Bainbridge, Georgia. 28 carries all year coming in. Takes that one the distance from 75 yards and a touch. The South Carolina fans were booing after that touchdown run, and we're going to show you why in a moment. At least 1 gaffe by the officiating crew, potentially 2. Shi Smith is deep. Florida ties it after the turnover by Trask, which led to the South Carolina touchdown, which gave the Gamecocks the lead.
Now, there was a pretty blatant false start by DeLance, moving before the snap. And then here, the South Carolina faithful wanted a hold called on Tyree Cleveland, who you see that right arm clearly grabbing the jersey of Muschamp, but the official standing right there was a little bit blocked by the ball carrier.
Feaster had over 100 yards against Kentucky. Closing in on that today. Here's Denson, the backup. He's got the first down and knocked out of bounds inside the 45-yard line by Taylor. 22 more yards on the ground.
Very similar look. You'll see number 76 out in front. That's Rhodes and Gwynn, the right guard. Both guards pulling there to the side with only the tight end, and not enough numbers there for the Florida Gators. It was a play they ran with a lot of effectiveness against Kentucky a few weeks ago. You would think that's going to be something they'll come back to as the game goes along.
Florida only gives up 3.5 yards a carry. South Carolina's better than 5 yards a pop. Here's another run. Denson with room. And down to the 36. Denson, meanwhile, dragging defenders inside the 25, 15 yards. They're leaning on that Florida D-line that is -2 of its key players up front.
And it's all about the pulling guards. See right there, the right guard, Gwynn, getting out on the edge. And then Rhodes, the big body, 335-pound road grader at left guard, out in front as well. It's a difficult scheme to try to combat. These running backs are running confidently. Got to give credit to that offensive line, though. They're moving some people around.
Yep, 2 freshmen on the right side of that line. Donnell Stanley is their leader up front. He's the center as Denson is tripped up. We had a great conversation with Stanley yesterday, 24-year-old, 6th year. He's a fisherman, likes to sing country music.
And he's got the biggest hands in the history of mankind.
He has big hands and he's strong. And talking to Javon Kinlaw, who he faces off with in practice every day, he said, yeah, you can feel those hands too.
2nd down and 10. Another run play. Denson grabbed and mauled by Campbell. We were talking with Stanley yesterday about his true freshman quarterback, Ryan Hilinski. He said, we love him. He took us out to Ruth Chris. I mean, it's one thing to take the guys out to the cafeteria, the offensive line, but he said he spent a ton of money, took us out for dinner at a fancy steak place.
But is that too deep or just starters?
That's amazing. Starters, of course. Come on, that's not getting carried away.
He told us what the bill was, and we knew there was no vino involved, with the exception maybe of Stanley, who's 24. So it had to have been more than just starters. A drop play on 3rd and long, and it's a first down for Feaster. Ankle tackled by Steiner inside the 10. 14-yard run.
Yeah, and watch Moon right here. He actually falls back and gets tricked a little bit, which allows some open space to the left-hand side. Jeremiah Moon, who's in for the injured Jonathan Grenard, playing out of position and not in his gap there, which allowed for a big play. I don't see how you can abandon the run game at this point. You've done a great job in this drive. Expect some more.
Nope, it's a pass play. Hilinski gonna get leveled and sacked at the 15-yard line. Did not see the corner, C.J. Henderson, coming. And a negative play of about 8.
Yeah, look at these eyes. That's a dead giveaway. Corner cat is coming, especially with a cut split by Brian Edwards as he crossed field. I don't love the play there. I think you're running the football until they prove that they can stop it. Instead, you try to get cute, you drop back. Next thing you know, you're way behind the sticks after the sack.
2nd and goal. Van Feaster has nowhere to run. He gets mauled. David Reese, Adam Schuler team up on the tackle. No gain. Now it is 3rd and goal from the 15.
No, Greg, that's such a staple for Todd Grantham is the corner cat. And they ran it actually 2 plays earlier versus the run. And C.J. Henderson made the tackle in the backfield. Had they not made that call, it would have been out the gate.
Yeah, no doubt. A tough spot here. 3rd and 15.
Got to come away with points.
Yeah, I wouldn't do anything too crazy here. I'd keep it on the ground or throw a quick screen, high percentage completion.
So not a shot to the end zone here.
With a capable secondary, just more bad things can happen than good.
They are going to keep it on the ground. And Feaster stood up after a 2-yard pickup. So that first play got him off schedule once they got to 1st and goal. And Parker White will come on. He made a 49-yard field goal in the first half. But remember, he missed a 33-yarder in overtime against Georgia last week. He did make the game winner, though, in the 2nd OT. And now they have to settle for 3. 20-17. The Gamecocks have the lead over the 9th-ranked Gators. Great crowd here despite bad weather in Columbia. A lot of Gator fans as well. It's been a terrific football game. South Carolina by 3 late in the 3rd. Touchback, it will come out to the 25. Here's Pierce running the ball, and he's drilled at the line of scrimmage. Here's Matt in the studio.
Guys, I've got a hard-working player for you. Jonathan Taylor, 5-yard touchdown run for Wisconsin. 8th straight game with a rushing touchdown. Right now, Badgers up 20-7 over Illinois.
And Matt, we were talking earlier about Jalen Hurts. Jonathan Taylor's got to be at the top of the list. I know we're at midseason, long way to go, but for the Heisman Trophy, what a terrific year Taylor's had. Play action. Trask in trouble. Throws complete to Pitts, the tight end, but no gain. And look who's coming in. You see Kinlaw? He can't wait to eat.
Yeah.
If you're wondering, hey, why is he on the sideline? He played like 70 snaps last week. They're trying to rest him a little bit more this week.
Absolutely. You see Trask just getting out off play action, trying to go with a little naked boot. Get him moving, get an easy completion. A little late getting to Pitts. A good job closing by the South Carolina defense. Let's keep an eye on big number 3, Javon Kinlaw, who's lined up over the left tackle, Stone Forsythe.
Here he comes. The pass, though, is caught for a first down. There is a flag down in the secondary. Josh Hammond on the grab. Usually when you see a penalty that deep in the secondary, it's on the defense.
On the defense, number 7. That penalty is declined. Result of the play is a first down.
They did a good job on Kinlaw up front. That gave Trask time to throw and complete the pass.
And a great job, too, by Trask sliding in the pocket. Feels the presence coming off the right-hand side. Move, no problem. You saw Robinson there in the secondary grabbing the jersey. So a good call by the officials, but a really nice executed play there by Kyle Trask.
5th straight start for Trask after Felipe Franks went down against Kentucky. Here he throws a deep ball through the hands of the intended receiver, Copeland, incomplete. Penalty flag is down in the backfield.
Guys, they're going to get South
Personal
Carolina.
foul, roughing the passer, number 52 in the defense. Contact below the knee. 15-yard penalty, first down.
Kingsley Enagbari.
This is low.
Yep, low right into the bottom. Right into the back of the knee for Kyle Trask. Good job by the officials.
We go to the 4th, a 3-point game in Columbia. You're watching the SEC on ESPN. Florida, good field position as it starts to rain again here in Columbia. First down at the Gators' 48-yard line. LaMichael Pirine, the deep back. They haven't run the ball a lot on first down. They will here. Pirine has a hole, and he's got almost 10 yards. Kyle Trask, quarterback, junior from Manville, Texas. 5th consecutive start, came in the 4th quarter at Kentucky and let a comeback win after the injury to Felipe Franks. He was a backup all throughout high school. His last start before this year was a freshman at Manville High School because of Derek King. Had a career high in passing yards last week at LSU and threw 3 touchdowns in defeat. Really raining hard now. They keep it on the ground on 2nd and 1, and Pirine is able to move the chains. He paid for it, though, man. He got drilled by Sterling. But it is a first down for the Gators.
Florida has been excellent in the 4th quarter this year. You look at the total yards and the margin in regards to points scored. Of course, that Kentucky game is the best example. They've been excellent in the final quarter so far in the first half of the season.
Outscoring opponents 64-14. Here's a pitch to Swain on the end around, and a great job to get off a block by JT eBay. Grad transfer from Rice. Brunson was there as well for the Gamecocks.
That's a great job of leveraging the football. I mean, JT eBay on the right side of your screen, you'll see him, and he's got Pitts engaged. All he has to do is just keep outside leverage. force Swain inside because you have help inside. He did a great job of it while engaged by the tight end.
2-yard gain. Here's Pirine trying to find a hole. It's not there. Grabbed by Roderick and brought down after a 1-yard pickup. TJ Brunson there too. Here we go for 3rd down and long.
Similar spot the drive before. Potential 4-down territory if you can get 5 or 6 here. Keep an eye on Freddie Swain in the slot. It's been a really solid piece for this offense on 3rd down over the last few weeks. Potentially in one-on-one against Jamie Robinson.
Trask gets hit. Steps up, finds some running room, and then gets level by eBay at the 35. It's 4th and 3. It would be about a 52-yard field goal if they attempt it, but the offense staying on the field.
It's really coming down now too, guys, and earlier on Kyle Trask did not handle a wet football.
We've seen him run it, guys, a couple times, but that was when it was 4th and 1 or 3rd and 2. It's now 4th and 3.
Yeah, they're looking like they're going to get an empty formation. Keep an eye, like the play before, on Swain, who's at the top of your screen at number 3.
Middle of the field is open. And Trask, as they only rush a couple, Kinlaw almost got the sack. Trask dumps it off, and it's caught by Pitts for a 1st down. Great job by Trask to keep that play alive. 9 yards and a 1st down. Let's look and make sure that Pitts secured it as he went to the ground.
It's a great job of extending the play, trying to get Swain to the right side on a little option route. He was covered. Trask had to buy a little time to get to his big body tight end.
You said, though, they're not afraid to go for it on 4th down. They do it twice a game. Here's Trask looking, throwing, receivers there, caught, touchdown, Swain. Penalty marker down at the 5-yard line. Did Swain push off to get open?
Holding on the defense, number 29. That penalty is declined. The result of the play is a touchdown.
And again, how about Kyle Trask waiting patiently for his receiver to come free? The Gators have the lead.
It's just an unbelievable adjustment by Freddie Swain. I mean, unbelievable adjustment. Full layout, tracking the football, securing the catch, fighting through contact, and giving the Gators the lead.
Extra point is good. 24-20. Kyle Trask has come alive here in the 2nd half. He's got 2 touchdown passes now for the game. A diving catch by Freddie Swain. And the 9th-ranked team in the country is in front here in the 4th. The Florida Gators on top. Kyle Trask with a touchdown pass. 9:54 to go in the 4th quarter. A 4-point Gator lead. It will be a touchback. South Carolina will start on its 25. I'll run it again here with Feaster. And for those wondering when we talk about that E60 segment, what Hilinski's hope is, just to finish that story, it's a foundation that the Hilinski's, Mark and Kim, the parents of Tyler, started to raise awareness and education for mental health. Actually, Ryan's done a lot of speaking. Actually, according to reports, spoke at a funeral for a student that died via suicide. As Hilinski's in trouble here, lost the ball. Recovered by Campbell. It's Florida football inside the 30. Zachary Carter hacked it out of the arm of Ryan Hilinski for the takeaway.
This is 2 times now where the cornerback cat has fooled Ryan Hilinski. Trying to go with a little halfback draw, but because of the presence that you see here, he kind of stops, which allows the backside rush to get home. Tries to hand it. Oh no, can't do it because Feaster thinks he's got to pick it up. Next thing you know, he gets hit. Great job by Carter to win around the edge against the true freshman right tackle. A big play for this Florida defense.
And you have the thing now, if you're South Carolina, you have to hold them to 3. Florida scores another touchdown, given the weather and everything. Keep it on the ground with Pierce. That's a big play on first down, a loss of 1 or 2. Meanwhile, big play defensively for South Carolina on first down. Can they do it again here on 2nd and 11? Play fake for Trask. Steps up and throws complete for a first down. It's Copeland near the 10-yard line. Again, it's Trask keeping the play alive with his feet. Copeland is shaken up.
It's a great job by Trask attacking the line of scrimmage. As he flushes forward, look at the impact it has on the defensive players. They start to come up, they start to trigger, which means it allows for some disappearance at the 2nd level where he finds Copeland. Unfortunate that Copeland had to take one on the chin after what was a really nice gain.
Hey, Greg, I think what was really sneaky good about Kyle Trask there is when he climbed the pocket and started to attack the line of scrimmage, he actually tucked the football for a split second, and 4 black jerseys jumped him. And then he pulls it back up, keeping his eyes downfield. Some nice pocket moxie there.
Just great poise.
You got Lucas Krull in the game. You see number 7 at tight end. He's a former pitcher. He's thrown the ball a couple times. Keep that in mind here for this play call. Trask rolling out, throws to the end zone, and it's picked off! J.C. Horn with the interception. There's a flag down at the 1-yard line. That would be J.C. Horn's first career interception. Will it stand?
Holding on the defense. Number 1. Half the distance. Automatic first down.
Now, South Carolina fans in that end zone are throwing towels onto the field now. They didn't like the call.
There was a lot of contact and grabbing as Jefferson tried to get released, and you see him grab. I mean, he grabs the face mask. It's very clear. It's a good call by the official, but
South Carolina players are turning to the crowd saying, let's not do this. Don't litter the field here.
Well, they're throwing water bottles, too. In fact, interviewing Dan Mullen going in at half, we almost got pummeled by a water bottle.
Well, J.C. Horn, son of Joe Horn, great player in the NFL. Terrific corner for the South Carolina team. Made a great play. It was just the contact earlier. And half the distance to the goal. 1st and goal at the 5-yard line. That's Damian Pierce, the tailback. He's got a touchdown already in this game. Trask rolling out, fires to Pitts. Touchdown, Florida. A huge score for the Gators with 7:53 to go. And the 3rd touchdown pass for Trask in the ballgame.
And Florida fortunate not to get called for offensive pass interference as Josh Hammond goes in and just blocks. And they sneak Pitts right out into the end zone right here. This is the offensive pass interference. You have to at least attempt to try to run a route. Hammond just grabs the defender, allows for the easy touchdown. It's a missed one there by the officials.
Right, and you got, again, the fans, as the extra point is good in the end zone. They saw that too, and they're still throwing stuff out of the field as the Florida Gators get a huge score. Trask has been brilliant here in the 2nd half. Florida in command midway through the 4th. Well, moments ago, Will Muschamp had to be restrained by his coaching staff going after referee Matt Leffler, unhappy with what looked like offensive pass interference on the Florida touchdown. Here's Shi Smith for South Carolina with the Gamecocks down 11. They get a good return out to the 30-yard line.
And I understand why Will Muschamp is irate. Watch Josh Hammond, number 10, as he comes down It's man coverage, and he blocks. Doesn't try to run a route, blocks the defender that was trying to cover Kyle Pitts. No officials recognized it, no flags, and Will Muschamp is beside himself. And this continued on for several minutes. I understand. That is just, I don't know how you miss an OPI. It's that blatant.
Hilinski throws it downfield, and it's incomplete. Let's bring Matt Austin in, our rules analyst. Your thoughts on what you just saw, Matt?
Yeah, Dave, I agree with everything Greg just said. That is definitely offensive pass interference for exactly the reasons Greg said. He went inside. He looked like he was blocking the whole way. It was beyond the line of scrimmage. The ball crossed. It meets all the requirements of OPI.
All right, thanks, Matt. Here's Edwards out in space and knocked out of bounds by Miller. The fans were also upset with a holding call on J.C. Horn that negated an interception. We looked at it again during the commercial break, and Horn clearly grabbed the face mask of the wide receiver who's trying to come out of his break. So it looked like the officials got that one right, but it's the one on Hammond they missed. And so it's an 11-point deficit now for the Gamecocks. 3rd down and 3. Midway through the 4th quarter. Empty set here. Pressure coming. Hilinski gets rid of it, and it's juggled and then caught for a 1st down by Dawkins. Are they going to say incomplete?
Yeah, definitely hit the ground.
Yeah, hit the ground. Looking at an angle, better angle here.
A lot of contact between him and C.J. Henderson. Pretty accurate throw there. Still keep the offense on the field.
Got to, right?
Have to.
Now it's 4th and 3. They're bringing pressure, and it's dropped again. Incomplete. Edwards couldn't hang on. So Todd Grantham dialed it up, and Florida takes over on downs, leading by 11.
I just don't know how this happens. You're just going to see pressure right up the middle, and you're going to see the left guard try to get to it late. The left guard's kind of leaving for nobody, and he's given up the A gap, which is inside. You have to protect the A gap first. He doesn't, and Rhodes forces the early throw and the incompletion. That was poorly protected by the South Carolina offensive line.
Did it not look like Ryan Edwards expected the ball there?
Looked as though it had to get out laser fast, and I'm sure he wasn't expecting that quick.
Florida going to keep it on the ground here. Pirine down to the 34, so we got 3 on that play. First Florida quarterback in the last 15 seasons with back-to-back SEC games with 3 or more passing touchdowns. Did it in a loss against LSU last week, and maybe headed towards a win here in Columbia. You mentioned this at the top of the telecast. Dan Mullen wanted to see how his team would respond from a loss. When they fell to Georgia last year, first loss of the year, didn't handle it well. Beat badly by Missouri the following week. But a different story today after they fell to LSU a week ago, especially in the second half. Trask had a lot of balls that fluttered in the first half. He's been strong throwing the ball here in the second. Pirine trying to get the corner. He does. Has the 1st down. Skips out of play at the 22. What's Clemson's last game of the regular season will be here in Columbia against South Carolina.
Say what you want about Clemson's offense, but that defense, they're a handful.
Despite losing all those guys to the NFL up front. Florida taking the clock down with an 11-point lead. And Trask to throw here. Pirine can't come up with it. So that stops the clock. 5:45 to go. Roderick in coverage.
Why would you do that? Why'd you throw the football right there, guys?
Try to sneak Pirine out on the wheel route. See if you can catch him sleeping, but I don't get that at all.
I don't either.
On the ball. I mean, I feel like every time they've done some nice things on the ground, they've gone right back to the pass, and it's worked. I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Trask has responded well to the wet ball after the ball flooded early. He's been much more accurate here these last 15 or 20 minutes or so.
Right.
But is it possible? I mean, look, there's 6 minutes left. Is it possible Dan's thinking we get a touchdown, the game's over, a field goal, South Carolina still has a shot?
Sure, but you just hit a 12-yard gain with Pirine off the edge.
Going to throw it again over the middle. It's high and incomplete. Intended for Jefferson. Oh, a late flag is thrown here, along with towels and water bottles from the fans in the end zone.
Pass interference on the defense, number 1. That's a spot foul. First down.
So J.C. Horn has been called for costly holding and pass interference calls on consecutive possessions.
A lot of contact. A lot of contact. You see that left arm draped around, but it comes off. I mean, it's the SEC. There's contact. I mean, I think that's a ticky-tack foul, frankly.
Compared to what's been missed.
Yeah.
I don't know, guys. I mean, he had a hold of him.
Oh, he had him for a second, but
and even if you let him go, but you still got a hold of the receiver, I don't think that was as blatant as the other one. First and goal now for Florida. 5:39 on the clock. Pierce gets hit, bounces off of the tackler, and then dropped. Gain of 3 on the play.
You have to be impressed with how Florida's responded, though, as the game's gone along. Withstood the surge early. South Carolina comes right out, goes right down the field, scores a touchdown, and Florida has just kind of methodically worked their way throughout the game. I haven't agreed with everything that Dan Mullen's done offensively. I think he's been a little pass happy for sure. But man, this has been a gutsy performance after what was a very emotional loss last week, a physical game too, the last couple weeks for the Florida Gators. And this team's for real, and they've really showed their heart today with how they've performed here in the last 20 minutes.
Heading into a bye week before they take on Georgia on November 2nd. Pierce off the right side, dumped at the 5. So the play of the day here for South Carolina's defense to try to hold Florida to a field goal, keep it a 2-possession game nearing 4 minutes to go. So does Mullen throw the ball here and go for the end zone?
If recent history suggests anything, yes. Right? I think it's dangerous, though. I'd keep it on the ground. I would trust these wide receivers to block for you if you do get on the perimeter.
It's going to be a high percentage pass play to Grimes. He's in for the touchdown.
That's so difficult to defend. I love that play. Just kind of an extended handoff. You get Grimes, the big body wide receiver, running towards the quarterback. Very easy completion. Very few things can go wrong. Just really tough to defend. You saw the New Orleans Saints start to use this. LSU uses it quite a bit as well. It's just a really, really tough play to defend along the goal line, especially when your wide receiver is a big body, 6'5" guy that can run through contact.
4 touchdown passes for Trask to 4 different receivers. Florida trailed by 3 in the 3rd quarter, but they're on their way to victory now at the 4-minute mark.
Yeah, it's just easy. It's a piece of cake throw. Probably the easiest throw Kyle Trask's had to make today. It was nice and accurate, right on the face mask of Trey Grimes. It's been a great performance here. After the early interception in the second half, Kyle Trask has really shown his mettle.
21 fourth quarter points. 15 of the 16 plays for Florida have been on the South Carolina side of the field, and that's what we talked about. The fourth quarter has been owned by the Gators all year long. Here's Edwards from Hilinski, stays in bounds and dumped after a pickup of 8. No, Florida, this is impressive, right? And the weather on the road, trailing in the second half, coming off a game against LSU where they played well enough to win, but couldn't hang on late. LSU, and that game was tied at 28, and LSU pulled away late. Joe Burrow has been terrific all year. Florida doesn't have Grenard or Zuniga, maybe their 2 best defensive players.
I'm telling you, I think Florida is the most improved team from week 0 to today. I don't think there's a more improved team in college football than Florida. I looked at them in that game against Miami, and their offensive line was a mess. They made some mistakes, self-inflicted mistakes by turning over the football. They've just gotten better and better, and they've withstood difficult outcomes, difficult circumstances. Played great last week, even though the second half performance wasn't quite what they wanted. I'm telling you, they go into the bye week now, got to be feeling so good about the progress they've made, and I think they've certainly made a statement that they could be the best team in the SEC East.
Here's Edwards, knocked down at the 44-yard line. You still feel like Florida's good enough to win not just the East, but the whole SEC.
I do. Once Grenard gets back and Zuniga, if those guys can get back after the bye week to being who they are, I don't think anybody has as dynamic a 1-2 punch along the front as Florida.
Well, and Greg, to this point, they're the only team in the conference that has had to play the 6-7 straight weeks.
Yeah.
Hilinski's pass on the sideline, incomplete, intended for Feaster.
I just have so much respect for Dan Mullen. I looked at this team coming into the season. I wasn't sure. You lose so many pieces along your offensive line. You lose so many pieces on the defense side of the football, playmakers, stars, and yet they just continue to find ways. It's not always pretty, and today it wasn't exactly pretty as well.
South Carolina going to keep it on the ground. Feaster's got the first down and more. He's inside the 10-yard line. Clock will stop to allow for the team to get down the field. Obviously no sticks here. It's 1st and goal, so they wind the clock now. Can they score quickly here and get a 2-point conversion? Feaster again. Maybe South Carolina wants to use a timeout here. Not going to. Tall order, down 18 with 2 minutes to go, so they'll go as fast as they can, but they won't stop the clock yet. Here's Ortre Smith diving it in for the South Carolina touchdown.
Ortre Smith getting into the action. Not a ton of opportunities this year, but I remember when he was recruited, they felt really good about his development and what he might eventually become. He's huge, big body receiver that has star potential written all over him. So it's good to see him getting involved, and you got to think his career arc is just getting started. Some bright days ahead for Ortre Smith.
They don't need to go for 2 yet. Wait till the last possible moment when you have to. So it's an 11-point game again, 2-possession game. First onside kick attempt for South Carolina this year. Joseph Charlton is the punter, hammers it into the ground, and it's recovered by the Gators. P. Ryan is the running back. And they stop him here at the line of scrimmage. Kinlaw making a tackle. South Carolina will call a timeout. They're hoping to get the 3 and out, get the ball back, and then obviously wouldn't have any timeouts. They have to score, 2-point conversion, and then get the onside kick. P. Ryan again on 2nd down, and dropped after a 2-yard pickup. Another timeout by Muschamp, 1 remaining. Clock stop, 1:42 to go. We didn't see Emory Jones today. He only came in for 1 play when Kyle Trask lost his helmet. He's usually a factor and gets a couple series. And now you get 2 weeks to get ready for Georgia. Try to get those DNs healthy. How about Trask going to throw the ball here? He wisely does not, though. It forces Will Muschamp to call his final timeout to stop the clock. They're going to have to punt. Again, we just told you the scenario. Without a timeout, you're going to have to march down the field, score, get a 2-point conversion, recover an onside kick, and score again. Only rush 3 here. Hilinski steps up and hits Van, who gets out of bounds to stop the clock.
I think the goal actually for Todd Grantham moving forward, if they get Grenard and they get Zuniga back, is everybody wants to be able to rush the passer and stop the run with a 4-man front. And when he gets those 2 guys back, that's when Florida's really at their best.
I mean, you haven't had their starting defense hardly at all. I mean, the corners have been hurt, ends have been hurt.
Wide open in the middle of the field is Muse. And the clock's going to stop here to get the chains reset with 1:16 on the clock after a 22-yard game.
The sudden surge, too, from South Carolina offensively, maybe it doesn't make a difference in this game, but at least it gives you some momentum heading into the final stretch, knowing that you can throw the ball through the air if necessary.
They're going to run it here, try to get a first down and stop the clock. They don't, though. He's tackled a couple of yards shy of the line to gain.
I think with the way Auburn defends, Auburn can still be a factor, but I just don't think their offense is capable enough at this point, especially with Boobie Whitlow being out. I don't think their offense is capable enough to keep up with those two teams.
So the injury for Florida stopped the clock. This pass is off the mark. There was contact downfield between Moon and Denson. No flag. 55 seconds left. 3rd down. South Carolina had never beaten top 10 teams in back-to-back games. But that win still did a lot for Will Muschamp and the program last week in Athens. It's a first down catch. Clock will stop as they reset the chains. We're being told that Illinois just beat Wisconsin. As that ball's tipped, caught, clock's going to run though. Hilinski a little slow to get up, but if that's accurate, what we're being told right now, if Illinois beat Wisconsin, yeah, 24-23. Illini over the Badgers. How about that for Lovie Smith?
Wow.
Wow.
I mean, they hung in there with Wisconsin. Drop ball by Van. Game-winning 39-yard field goal for Illinois. The confidence gained from that surge in the second half last week against Michigan, perhaps, was the difference. I mean, people were saying Wisconsin was going to beat Ohio State.
Well, I think Wisconsin got a case of the look-ahead flu.
Yeah.
Knowing what lies next week in Columbus.
Hilinski throws off target on 3rd down. So now 4th and 5, 24 seconds left.
You just got to respect your opponent, man. I mean,
Doesn't matter. You're right.
You just got to know what's in front of you each and every week.
That's amazing, though. I mean,
that is.
Illinois.
I mean, you watch Wisconsin these first couple weeks. They are a brick wall on defense. I mean, brick wall on defense.
4 of their 6 games were shutouts.
They destroyed Michigan.
Yeah.
Weren't they like a 35-point favorite or something today? 4th down, another drop. And that's going to do it because Florida will take a knee and the game will be over.
It's a great win from Florida. Really is. Tough stretch. 7 straight games after playing week 0 and having a bye week after that first game. Just a gutsy performance in difficult circumstances on the road.
Well, the Florida Gators, Dan Mullen trying to get this program back on track to where it was when he was there as the offensive coordinator with Urban Meyers, the head coach, and they were winning championships last year. In Mullen's first year, they won 10 games, won 5-3 in conference play. In year 2, they're a legit college football playoff contender, even with 1 loss. They're at 7-1 now and 4-1 in conference play. South Carolina falls to 3-4 as we check in with Tom down on the field.
Well, Coach, at halftime, clearly you were not happy with the execution. Yeah. But you came out. What were the things that you adjusted to that allowed you to execute better in the second half?
Our guys adjusted to it. I went in and said, hey, there's no issues. You know, I mean, defensively, I thought we played a great first half. You know, the guy makes a one-handed beautiful catch, and we have a couple offside penalties and miss a gap to fit a run. But overall, we played great defense, and we weren't executing. Came out, you look at the beginning of 3rd quarter, we continued a little more of the same. Then we started to settle in. Defense made some plays. You know, they did a great job flipping field position, keeping us pinned deep all day long. Second half, we were able to flip the field position, you know, get a little in the plus side, and we finished it off scoring touchdowns there at the end.
I know it hasn't been ideal with the schedule, but you finally get the bye week next week. How important is it to have it scheduled right then and there?
I think it's right now for us, it's great. We're right where we want to be. You know, coming into this season, we control our own destiny. We're getting into a bye week, and we're going to have three games in November, conference games in November. That'll determine who goes to the SEC championship, and that's all you want to do is be in that position in November.
You told us you wanted to throw it coming into the football game. How did you feel Kyle Trask do it today?
I thought he threw pretty well. I thought he tried to do a little too much at times. And with reads, but I thought we threw and caught pretty well all day long. Started slow, but did a really good job as the game went on.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you. Go Gators.
All right, so the Florida Gators bounce back from that loss against LSU with an impressive win in Columbia. Meanwhile, an upset in the top 10 in Champaign, plus Kentucky, Georgia tonight. And Alabama, Tennessee on ESPN. For Greg McElroy, Tom Luganville, Dave Pasch, saying so long from Columbia. Let's get you more on the upset in Champaign with Matt Berry in the studio.